Hey, what's going on, Mauldin Youth? I'm out here, decided to do the announcements outdoor because it's like 80 degrees today. So here I am doing the announcements for this Sunday. So there's not much to say, everything's shut down, like literally. We've got the United Night of Worship, it's been canceled. All youth events and Sundays canceled. Parent meeting, canceled. Hey, there is hope. The camp and the mission trip are still a go as of now. We'll see how that moves forward. I will be posting updates on social media, so make sure you're connected with us on Instagram. We've got the Snapchat going down, so I'll put the titles and stuff, the screen names underneath there, so that way you can get connected on there. Also on WhatsApp, we've got a group going, so make sure you join the WhatsApp group, because that's a way we can dialogue and talk back and forth while we're apart from each other, hunkered down in our homes or outside doing some fun stuff. So Monday I'm going to start up a devotional. Make sure you're tuned into that. It'll be on Instagram, so we'll do Instagram lives on. We'll start up on Monday. I'm not sure what time. I'll try to announce it, post a little something, give you guys a little heads up. But you should be able to go back and review it later if you don't make it during the actual live session. So I guess that's about it for now. There's our announcements, and we'll get on with the teaching. What's happening, Mauldin Youth? It's me coming from my back deck here, hanging out, enjoying the beautiful sunshiny weather. So this is going to be kind of different for the next couple weeks. Hopefully it's just a couple weeks, and then we'll see how things go from there. All right, so coming up here is Easter. Yes, it is Easter time. So the next couple weeks we're going to be talking about Easter and how Jesus has defeated things during this Easter time. One of the things I love about Easter is the candy. I'm not gonna lie, I love the candy. Love the Cadbury Easter eggs. I don't know what it is about them, but even as a small kid, like the commercial would come on, and I'd come running into the room, and my mom said I'd sit there, watch the advertisement, and then boom, I'd be like right out of there and go back to playing. Who knows what it is? Still love the Cadbury eggs to this day. You know what? I'm gonna show you the commercial that
You're looking at a very unusual kind of egg from Cadbury that's only around till Easter. Its shell is pure, rich Cadbury milk chocolate. But look, inside sits a sweet, creamy yellow yolk surrounded by delicious white filling. Cream eggs from Cadbury. Why, they're the best thing to come along since the Easter Bunny. And when he's gone, they're gone.
Okay, so like I said, the next 3 weeks we're going to be talking about how Jesus has defeated things. And this week we're talking about how Jesus has defeated the separation between us and God. Have you ever felt like you're separated from somebody? I mean, this is really like one of those things right now as we're being separated from our friends, our family, our schools, everything like that. This is a legit thing. You guys are probably feeling that separation from the people that you love being around and that you have normally spent a lot of your time around. Maybe your fellow sports people, all that stuff. And that's one of those things where I honestly was kind of worried about being separated from my family as I was back in Amsterdam last week working on stuff to close things off there and make the final, transition back to here, and they started closing borders, and it was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be stuck here. So that possibility of being separated from my family here and you guys and everything else, it was really like going, oh my goodness, I could be separated for who knows how long. It became a very, very real thing. So maybe you're feeling this separation and you understand what those feelings are of unnerves or the sadness of not being with people. Well, you know what? When God made us, he did not make us to be separated from people or from him. And that's one of those things. He created the world perfect. And him and Adam and Eve, they're hanging out, they're walking together, they're talking. They had communion together. They had community. Well, that's how God created the things. Perfect. But then mankind came along and, things kind of changed. We messed things up and sin happened. And so all of a sudden this separation with God happened. And that's not what God wanted. And so it's one of those things where as we look back into history, we see the Israelites actually had a very visible physical thing that they could tell that they were separated from God, because in the tabernacle and the temple, they had the most holy place, the most high place. And it was one of those places where it was roped off, and there was a curtain, not roped off, there was a curtain, it was closed off. And so they got a very clear visual that they were separated from God, and only the high priest could go in during certain times and have that communion with God. So it was a very clear visual that the Israelites had that they were separated. But the nice thing, though, is God had a plan from the beginning where he would restore that relationship and cut that separation off from his people. And that was by sending Jesus to die on the cross for us and to be a once and for all sacrifice for our sins. So that way we wouldn't have to sacrifice animals or anything like that anymore. Most of the world knows the verse John 3:16. So if you think about it, it's for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. That's the King James Version. Here's the NLT version, which is a little bit more modern and clearer, I think. But I grew up learning the KJV, so there you go. Jesus took on, well, God loved us so much, he sent his Son, where Jesus would take on our burdens and take on our sins, so that way we could have that restored relationship with God. If we look at 1 Peter 2:24, it says that he, which means Jesus, personally carried our sins in his body on the cross so that we can be dead to sin and live for what is right. By his wounds, you are healed. That you, that's us. That's us. We're healed by what Jesus did on the cross. When Jesus died, what's really cool, the Bible talks in Matthew 27:51. It talks about how the curtain in the temple was split in two. So here you've got this very clear visual thing of being separated from God, being ripped into two. And all of a sudden it's like, ta-da! People are going, what's going on? And that's a very visual idea of God taking that separation he has from us and ripping it into two, all by what Jesus did, because Jesus defeated the separation from God. That's pretty cool. So what does that mean for us? What that means for us today is that God sent his Son, Jesus, who is perfect, to die on the cross, so that way he could bridge that separation between God and us, and we can have that relationship restored like God wanted it, how God created it, perfect. And so now we've got this restored relationship. It's kind of like, okay, you know, when you use an Instagram or a Snapchat filter and it puts something over your face, that's kind of like Jesus, just to simplify it. It's like Jesus's filter comes on us and God sees us completely different. He doesn't see us as a sinful human being. He sees us as perfect because we've got the filter of Jesus that's been put on us. And that's, for those of us who have actually accepted what Jesus did for us. I realize some of you might be questioning your faith. You might be questioning this whole God thing. I get it. It's a lot to understand. It's kind of weird. It's different. Some of you have grown up in the church. You just feel like, well, I've grown up in the church. So, obviously I'm a Christian, right? No, you've got to believe for yourself what all this is about. So my question to you, if you're not quite sure what's going on, come talk to one of us. We'd love to sit down, have a conversation with you. Right now, it might be over, FaceTime or something like that. But we'd still like to have a conversation with you and talk you through this, talk with you about it, just dialogue. But it's one of those things, too, where I highly recommend you just praying and asking God to show himself to you. Because if you ask him to show himself to you, he's going to do it. He's going to show up. That's just how he works, because he wants that relationship restored with you. Just to wrap things up for today, just to kind of cover the lesson again, the reason why we celebrate Easter is because Jesus died on the cross. And one of the reasons Jesus died on the cross was to defeat that separation we have with God, because we're sinful human beings. And so as you go throughout the rest of this week, think about that and how we now have this bridged gap and relationship with a perfect, holy God. How cool is that? So until next week, hope you guys have a great week. Connect with us on social media. That's how we're going to keep building community while we're apart from each other. I'm going to be updating stuff on there. Hope to see you guys next week. Well, not see you, but I'll see you this way. Until then, wash your hands.